Almost 40 minutes had passed since she left the house, and I knew she would be heading back home soon because she knew I would be worried. The thought of her leaving the house and kids for some questionable encounter in a motel parking lot with a stranger made me lose it. This was not the same woman I had been married to for 15 years. I couldn't just drive to where they parked because it was about 30 yards away, so I decided to get out of my car and walk toward their car in a way they wouldn't see me coming. The closer I got, the more I noticed a rhythmic movement in the SUV. All the emotions I had been holding back suddenly overwhelmed me, and I ran toward the car. When I got there, I tried to open the door, but it was locked. I couldn't believe what I saw. My wife, who I've been married to for 15 years, was getting close with a stranger in a rundown motel parking lot like some kind of cheap affair. The guy drove away as fast as he could, leaving me feeling like I failed in my mission to catch them in the act. I really wanted to catch them red-handed, with their clothes off, but at least she can't deny what she did. Update. I stayed awake all night, anticipating her return. It wasn't until 5 a.m. that she finally entered. The moment I saw her, I sensed something amiss. She appeared completely drained, as if she had faced a battle. Her body language conveyed guilt and shame, and she couldn't meet my gaze. The first words she uttered were an attempt to explain, insisting it wasn't as it seemed. However, I was already aware she had been meeting this guy repeatedly. She confessed to knowing him for about 6 months, but refused to disclose his identity or that they worked together. She explained they both faced marriage problems and loneliness, seeking support from each other. Their closeness occurred only once, and that was when I caught them. She became defensive, citing our rocky marriage and her stress. While she didn't want to separate, she felt the need for space to figure things out. She was upset that I had eavesdropped and followed her, even stating she wouldn't stop seeing this person as he provided support, especially considering the challenges between us. I was devastated. It felt like my world had crumbled. How could she do this after all our years together? The pain was almost unbearable, and I didn't know how to get through it. I acknowledged it was over between us and had resolved to tell her I wanted a divorce. I didn't expect her surprise, and she certainly didn't express guilt. She had already justified her actions, claiming our loveless marriage pushed her to seek happiness elsewhere. I knew she would probably move on with her affair partner, a reality I had accepted. It hurt, but I recognized it was for the best. I couldn't continue in a loveless marriage, and I couldn't force her to stay if her heart wasn't in it. Despite the urge to express anger for her actions, I still wanted to hear her out, knowing she might only speak lies. A small part of me hoped she'd say something that could make me consider staying and working things out. I still love her in a way. Just thinking about it hurts more than eating jalapenos for breakfast. I set the terms with my wife, stating that for us to attempt marriage counseling, she must fully disclose everything about the affair. I want to know when it started, and she must sever all ties with her affair partner. Quitting her job is non-negotiable. I don't want her near him. However, she's making it difficult, claiming she already disclosed everything, which I doubt. She insists she's been ignoring his calls, but I'm skeptical. They work together, and she holds a high position, making quitting challenging. She suggests a department transfer, but I'm unsure if that's sufficient. I want her to make him transfer or leave the company altogether. If she can't do that, then we might as well end things now. I'm so angry and hurt by all of this, and I just want her to prove that she's willing to do whatever it takes to save our marriage. Update. It was an excellent day for me because I finally discovered the identity of the other guy. I left work early and went to my wife's workplace to see the car he drives. I found it and waited for him to finish work and leave. I followed him for 25 miles until he arrived home, getting his full contact information and even finding his picture online. Turns out, he's married with 3 kids, and I also have his wife's information. After a few days of thinking, I eventually called his wife and disclosed everything. She was understandably angry and wanted to confront her husband right away, but I advised her to think it through first. She mentioned they had a summer vacation planned with extended families, so the timing wasn't ideal for a confrontation. It's been a couple of days, and I'm unsure if she's confronted him yet. She said they have a summer vacation planned next week with extended families and kids, so they weren't sure about the timing for confronting. Following my conversation with my unfaithful wife, she agreed to provide me with a written rundown of when the affair began, switch teams at work to distance herself from her fling buddy within 3 weeks, and cut off all contact with him. Now, I know some of you might say, call HR and expose those cheaters. But honestly, what's in it for me? I make decent money, but she still brings home the bacon. And if we split now, I won't have to pay any cash for child support or alimony. The only thing that worries me is the thought of a custody battle. Don't get me wrong, I'm still considering ending this marriage. I only agreed to the meeting to make it seem like I still care and buy some time to talk to a lawyer and figure out my options. So, I read the timeline my wife gave me, and it was like a stab to the heart. It was clear that she's head over heels for her fling partner, even though she keeps apologizing and acting like she wants to work on our marriage. But let's face it, the ship has sailed. If I agree to go to couples counseling, I'd basically be telling her that I'm okay with her cheating. I bet her affair partner wants to stay with his own wife, and she's just using me as a backup plan. This morning, I contacted 3 lawyers downtown to find the right one for me. I ended up with a badass female lawyer who heard my story and reviewed the written timeline. She said it was smart of me to gather that evidence, and even if it's not entirely true, it could still help my case if things get messy in court. She also informed me that in my state, I have 3 months from the time I found out about the cheating to file for divorce. Otherwise, it'll look like I'm okay with it. I'm hoping this will come in handy during the custody battle, just in case. Update. Last night, I informed my unfaithful wife that I'm going ahead with the divorce. I initially planned to serve her the papers at her workplace, but I decided to have a mature conversation first. I wasn't ready for her reaction. She accused me of tricking her and giving false hope about fixing things. I fired back, reminding her that she made her choices when she acted inappropriately in a parking lot. It escalated into a heated argument with both of us yelling. At one point, she started crying and pleaded for forgiveness, claiming she loves me. I despise her for putting me in this situation and ruining my family, but I know I had to do what's best for me. After meeting with my lawyers, I went to Kinko's to print the legal documents. When my wayward wife returned home, I had the papers ready for her to sign. She acted surprised and tried to convince me we could reconcile, but I saw through it. I reminded her that she lied about her affair for 2 years, destroying any trust I had. I told her to sign the papers for the sake of our kids, but she refused, insisting on consulting her lawyer first. She even had the audacity to claim she didn't want to be with her affair partner and wanted me back. Yeah, right. She had her chance and blew it. Despite her tears and pleas, I'm done with her. As I walked away, she switched from crying to an angry tone, yelling, "Keep walking away like a coward. I will not sign anything till I speak to my lawyer." One day, she eventually signed the papers, probably after consulting her own lawyer. Despite the divorce proceedings, she continues with her daily chores, like cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the kids. She might be trying to show she can handle everything alone, but we all know she can't resist my charming personality and the benefits of being married to me. Update. Got some interesting news today. The spouse of the person my spouse cheated with gave me a call out of the blue. Not sure how she got my number. Maybe I shared it when I confronted her and her cheating husband in her office. She was a bit secretive on the phone, suggesting we meet for lunch at a cafe tomorrow. Surprisingly, I'm also scheduled to meet her this afternoon. Feeling nervous and on edge, who knows what she's got up her sleeve. Last time we spoke, she was upset about her husband's cheating ways. Seems like a hard-working business owner, maybe in her late 30s. Initially, I thought she and her husband were in their 40s, but who am I to judge? Maybe they've had a tough life. I took a snapshot of my wife's timeline on my phone and sent the hard copy to my lawyer. Also gave my boss a heads up that I might not be back from lunch. Who knows? Maybe I won't return at all. We decided to meet at a nearby coffee shop, not far from where I work. As I walked in, the other betrayed spouse was already standing up, ready to face me. Tried to play it cool with a handshake, but she went in for the hug. Bit awkward, but I guess we had an instant connection, both betrayed and left to pick up the pieces. She started by thanking me for telling her about her husband's infidelity. Then, she dropped news that would rock my world. Apparently, she had some inside info on my wife that would really upset me. Thought about writing me a letter, but said it wouldn't do it justice. Plus, She wanted to send a message to my wife, but she was afraid things would turn ugly if they met in person. So, she asked me to relay the message to my wife to stay away from her husband. Turns out, this betrayed spouse was no dummy. Instead of losing it like I did, she took my advice and hired a private investigator to gather evidence. Even installed spy software on her husband's phone and retrieved emails and texts between him and my wife for the past 4 years. Unbelievable. Meanwhile, my wife guards her phone like it's the Hope Diamond, not letting me near it. So it turns out my cheating wife and her side piece have been sneaking around on some secret app, avoiding their work email for anything romantic. But the private investigator found their texts, and it's clear they've been up to no good for 3 years, turning physical 2 years ago. Even though no hotel receipts, the investigator saw they met up at least twice a week in hotels and bars. And get this, the affair started a few months before she got a promotion. Messages show my wife was an active participant, while the other guy just went with the flow. I mean, even a dude like me can see that. Gotta say, I'm more crushed now than when I caught her in the parking lot. Feel like a total loser, humiliated and embarrassed. I've loved this woman, and this is how she repays me, by calling me old, unadventurous, and lacking ambition. They even made fun of me behind my back. The meeting with the other betrayed spouse took forever, like 3 or 4 hours. She gave me a copy of all the evidence, since she had a backup. Planned to show her the timeline my wife wrote, but it was so obvious it would have been embarrassing to bring up. After the meeting, she hugged me again, and we said our goodbyes. Went to a nearby bar to drown my sorrows. Looks like my ex never loved me, even though I thought we had a good relationship. She was hiding a whole other side of herself, showing it off to another guy without me knowing. Meanwhile, I was just the guy she settled for, the one taking care of the kids and keeping the house in order while she was busy climbing the career ladder with other guys from work. Another woman whose husband was cheated on gave me names of other married managers my wife had hookups with. Apparently, she decided to focus on one guy, but who knows how long the other flings lasted. Update. I feel really betrayed and hurt right now, and I want her to feel the pain too. This woman is just plain evil, and she needs to pay for her lies. I won't just confront her like a wimp. I need to show her I'm not weak. So I'll try something she'd never expect, something that'll shock her. I want to hurt her so bad that it exposes who she really is. The thing is, my wife is excellent at putting up a fake front for the community. She always acts like the sweetest, most wholesome lady to our neighbors, bringing over casseroles and such. And at church, she's the go-to usher and model Christian wife, always with a smile on her face. But deep down, she's very insecure about her image and what people think of her. She's a type A personality, a natural leader. And to her parents, she's daddy's little angel with a halo over her head. They think she can do no wrong, and they always blamed me for our marriage problems. They have no idea I caught her hooking up with some guy in a parking lot. But now, it's time to take off the kid gloves. It's time to shatter their little bubble. I'm going to send all those juicy text messages and pics to her parents and let them see their precious daughter for who she really is. So I went to Kinko's to make copies of the evidence that the other betrayed wife gave me. Then I met up with my lawyer to discuss my options. I showed her the evidence and asked if I could sue my wife's employer and those 2 other married managers. My goal is not to win, but to expose those cheaters and create a scandal that would make great headlines. My lawyer said we could sue for alienation of affection, but that requires my wife's cooperation, and we both know she won't do that. However, my lawyer did draft some legal documents that I can use to give my wife an ultimatum to get a better deal in the divorce settlement and move out of my house ASAP. This will be her wake-up call. I will threaten her that I was going to sue her company and the managers she had closeness with, and I will also notify the local papers. I'll also let the local papers know about it, just to make it sound more dramatic. I mean, even if the lawsuit is stupid and gets thrown out of court, the damage will already be done once the public hears about it. And then she'll have no choice but to move out of our family home and leave it all to me. Oh, and yeah, I got a lawyer to draft a legal paper to sue her employer and those managers. Just in case. Yesterday, I had to pick up my kids from school and take them to my wife's parents' place. They're sweet old folks, in their 70s, retired and all that jazz. I decided to have a little chat with them and show them some evidence of their daughter's affair, including some naughty pics that really drove the point home. The poor dad was heartbroken and kept apologizing to me, while the mom couldn't believe her precious church-going daughter could do such a thing. It was kinda sad to see them realize what their daughter was really up to. I mean, I knew it would hurt them, but still. When I got back home, my wife was on the phone with her parents, sobbing her eyes out, but the moment she saw me, she hung up and started freaking out, asking all sorts of questions about the evidence I had on her. She was shaking and sweating like crazy, like her whole world was about to collapse. And you know what? It kinda felt good to see her like that. I totally caught my wife off guard when I dropped some major lawsuit intel on her. I mean, her reaction was priceless. She looked like she was about to hurl and even pulled on her hair like she was trying to rip it out. And just for kicks, I told her I had already called up the local paper to give them the scoop. Of course, this sent her into panic mode. She started begging me to drop the whole thing, offering up an amicable divorce and even alimony payments. But all I wanted was for her to pack her bags and get out of our house ASAP. I straight up told my ex that I wanted her to hit the road and take her name off the deed to our love shack. Oh, and I also wanted 50-50 custody of the kids and a chill divorce. She hesitated for a sec, but then caved and said, absolutely. While still groveling on the floor, my ex begged me to give her a week to vacate the premises. She claimed to have no other options, since all her friends are married and her parents are currently giving her the cold shoulder. I suggested she stay in an extended stay hotel until the condo I had already rented was ready for her to take over, and that's exactly what happened. 2 days later, she was out of my hair and in a new place. We ended up finalizing the divorce a few weeks later, and I got custody of the kids and the house. It was probably a little bit of a hit for her since she makes more money than me, but hey, that's life. Now that it's all said and done, I'm getting back in shape and staying away from the booze. And as far as dating goes, well, I'm not in any rush to jump back into the game.